years of silence, and now, something has surfaced. A black tote bag, the same one once whispered about in the Summer Wells case, has reportedly been found near the family's property. It was never in the official reports, never listed as evidence, almost as if it had been erased. But if this is the same tote seen hours before Summer vanished at the creek, then this changes everything. For years, that bag was a rumor, a ghost in the story. Now it's real. And what's inside could expose what truly happened between the water and the woods. Because if the black tote was hidden, someone hid it. And the question isn't where Summer went anymore. It's what that bag was meant to hide.
A black tote bag, weathered, half buried in leaves, found deep in the Tennessee woods, 4 years after a little girl vanished without a trace. Could this be the break everyone's been waiting for? June 15th, 2021. 5-year-old Summer Wells disappeared from her family's home in Hawkins County, Tennessee. One moment she was there, playing, laughing, alive. The next, gone. No footprints, no witnesses, no answers. Her mother, CanDus, sat for interviews. She recounted every detail of that day, the errands, the swimming hole, the flowers they planted together. And somewhere in the chaos of timelines and theories, people latched onto one thing: a tote bag. Now, years later, someone claims they found it, sitting in the underbrush, waiting. But here's the question no one's asking. Did CanDus ever actually mention a tote bag, or has the internet created a clue that never existed? Before we unravel this mystery, where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. Let's see how far Summer's story has reached. Because this case? It's far from over. Summer Moon Utah Wells, 5 years old, blonde hair, bright eyes, and a smile that could light up the darkest holler in Tennessee. She lived with her parents, CanDus and Don, and her 3 younger brothers on Ben Hill Road, a winding gravel stretch tucked into the Beach Creek community of Hawkins County. This wasn't suburbia, no manicured lawns or neighborhood watch signs. Out here, homes sat far apart, separated by thick woods, steep ridges, and the kind of silence that swallows sound whole. The terrain was unforgiving: dense forest, rocky slopes, creeks that twisted through the underbrush like veins. Beautiful, yes, but dangerous for a child who might wander too far. Summer loved being outside. She'd chase her brothers around the yard, pick wildflowers, splash in puddles after a rain. For a little girl growing up in the hills, the world was her playground. Her family wasn't wealthy. They were working folks, doing their best to raise 4 kids in a place where life moved slow, and neighbors knew each other's names even if they lived a mile down the road. It was a tight-knit community, the kind where people looked out for one another. But it was also isolated. Help didn't come quick out here. Cell service was spotty. The nearest town a drive away. If something went wrong, you were on your own, at least for a while. Summer's world was small, simple, and safe, or so everyone thought. But on June 15th, 2021, everything changed. June 15th, 2021 started like any other summer day in the hills of Tennessee. Hot, humid. The kind of afternoon where kids beg to go swimming and parents give in just to beat the heat. CanDus Bly, Summer's mother, had errands to run. She took Summer and her own mother, Chrysosta Shooks, along for the ride. They made stops around town, nothing unusual, just the mundane rhythm of daily life. Groceries, odds and ends, the kind of Tuesday that blurs into every other Tuesday. But then they decided to cool off. Around midday, the trio headed to a local swimming hole, a spot where families went to escape the swelter. Summer splashed in the water, laughed, played. For a little while, everything was perfect. At 3:09 p.m., CanDus snapped a photo. Summer, asleep in the back seat of the vehicle, exhausted from the swim. Her hair still damp, her face peaceful. That image, time-stamped, verified, and later shared by local news outlet WJHL, would become the last confirmed picture of Summer Wells alive. They arrived home shortly after. The property on Ben Hill Road sat quiet, tucked into the ridge. CanDus and Summer got to work planting flowers in the yard. It was a small project, something to keep busy. They dug in the dirt, placed the blooms, brushed the soil from their hands. Afterward, they went inside to wash up. Summer was tired but happy. She told her mom she wanted to go downstairs to play with her brothers. CanDus watched her walk toward the basement door. A normal moment, a forgettable moment. Except it wasn't. Minutes passed, maybe 5, maybe 10. CanDus called for Summer. No answer. She checked the basement. Not there. She checked the bedrooms. Empty. She stepped outside, scanning the yard, calling her daughter's name. Nothing. Panic doesn't creep in slowly. It hits like a freight train. CanDus searched every corner of the house, the closets, the bathrooms, under beds, behind furniture. She ran through the yard, calling louder now, her voice cracking. She checked the woods at the edge of the property, hoping Summer had just wandered a few feet too far. But Summer was gone. CanDus grabbed her phone and called Don, her husband, who was out running errands with the couple's other children. "I can't find Summer," she told him. Don immediately started driving home, and at 6:26 p.m. he called law enforcement. Chrysosta Shooks, Summer's grandmother, also dialed 911 at 6:29 p.m. after realizing her phone had better reception. The message was the same. A 5-year-old girl was missing. Last seen inside her own home. Vanished in broad daylight. Officers from the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office arrived around 7 p.m. By then, the sun was starting to dip behind the ridgeline, casting long shadows across the property. They began a preliminary search, checking the immediate area, asking questions, trying to piece together a timeline. But as darkness fell over Beach Creek, one thing became painfully clear. Summer Wells was nowhere to be found. Imagine that terror, the confusion, the disbelief. One moment your child is playing in the next room, the next she's gone, and you have no idea how, why, or where. You replay every second in your mind, searching for the moment you missed, the detail you overlooked. But there's nothing, just an empty house and a silence that screams louder than any cry for help. How does a 5-year-old disappear from her own home in minutes? No screams, no struggle, no trace. Those are the questions that haunt CanDus and Don Wells to this day. And they're the questions that launched one of the most exhaustive searches in Tennessee history. By the morning of June 16, 2021, less than 24 hours after Summer vanished, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued an Amber Alert. Her name, her face, her details were broadcast across the state. News outlets picked up the story, social media exploded, and the search machine kicked into overdrive. This wasn't a small-town effort. This was a full-scale operation. More than 120 agencies descended on Hawkins County: the FBI, the TBI, local sheriff's departments, state troopers, search and rescue teams from across the region. Hundreds of volunteers showed up. Neighbors, strangers, people who'd never met the Wells family, but couldn't stand the thought of a little girl lost in the woods. They combed over 3,000 acres of rugged, unforgiving terrain. K-9 units sniffed through the underbrush, their handlers guiding them along creek beds and up steep ridges. Drones buzzed. Overhead, equipped with cameras scanning the canopy for any sign of movement. Helicopters circled, their rotors thumping against the humid air. Infrared technology sweeping the forest floor for heat signatures. Dive teams plunged into ponds and creeks, searching murky water for the unthinkable. Every inch of Beach Creek was scrutinized, every trail, every hollow, every abandoned structure within miles of Ben Hill Road. But the terrain fought back. The hills above Beach Creek are steep, dangerously so. Dense forest chokes the landscape, thick with briars, poison ivy, and underbrush so tangled it's nearly impassable. Fog rolled in. Rain turned the ground slick. Temperatures swung from sweltering heat to sudden storms. Search leaders described conditions as extremely steep and dangerous. Radios failed in the hollows. Cell signals dropped. Coordination required temporary boosters and satellite communications just to keep teams connected. And still they pushed forward. Over the first 2 weeks alone, flight crews logged more than 50 hours in the air. But here's the thing: no scent trail, no footprints, no witnesses. K-9 units, trained to track even the faintest human scent, couldn't pick up a trail beyond the immediate property. The dogs circled, confused, as if Summer had simply vanished into thin air. No broken branches, no disturbed soil, no signs of a struggle or a panicked run into the woods. It didn't make sense. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation held press conferences, their tone measured but firm. They made two things clear. First, there was no definitive evidence of an abduction. Second, nothing was being ruled out. Foul play, an accidental walk-off, a tragic accident. Every possibility remained on the table. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson echoed the sentiment. Everyone involved in this case is a person of interest. We have not ruled anyone out. Then came the red Toyota Tacoma. Investigators identified a potential witness vehicle, a 1998 to 2000 maroon or red Toyota Tacoma, fitted with a full-bed ladder rack and white utility buckets. They clarified the driver wasn't a suspect. They just might have seen something, anything, a detail that could crack the case wide open. Tips poured in, hundreds of them. Photos circulated online, people claiming, "That's the truck." But TBI issued a correction. The images were unofficial. The vehicle was never found. Every lead went cold. Every search turned up nothing. Weeks became months. The volunteers thinned out. The helicopters stopped flying. The news cameras packed up and left. But Summer Wells was still missing. When a child disappears, the spotlight doesn't just shine on the case, it burns into the family. And for CanDus and Don Wells, that heat was relentless. In the days following Summer's disappearance, local news outlet WJHL sat down with the couple for an extended interview. CanDus, visibly shaken, walked through the timeline again. The errands, the swimming hole, the flowers. She insisted Summer wouldn't have wandered off on her own. She was scared of the woods, CanDus said, her voice breaking. She wouldn't just leave. Don, meanwhile, was more direct. "I believe someone grabbed her," he told reporters. "Someone took my little girl." It was raw. It was emotional. And it was exactly the kind of content that fuels a media firestorm. Within days, the story went national. WJHL continued coverage. Other Tennessee outlets, WBIR, Tote, the Kingsport Times-News, picked it up. Then came the big names, cable news, true crime podcasts, YouTube channels with millions of subscribers. Everyone wanted a piece of the Summer Wells story. And then in November 2021, Dr. Phil aired a two-part special. CanDus appeared on the show, hoping to clear her name and plead for her daughter's safe return. Instead, she walked into a buzzsaw. The episode dissected her body language, her word choices, her demeanor. Armchair detectives flooded the comments. "She's lying. Look at her eyes. She knows something." CanDus left the taping visibly distraught, later saying she felt re-traumatized by what she described as speculative commentary designed for ratings, not answers. Law enforcement offered no public response to the Dr. Phil episode. Their stance remained unchanged. No one is cleared. No one is charged. The case is active. But the damage was done. Public opinion had already split into camps. Some believed CanDus and Don were grieving parents caught in an unimaginable nightmare. Others were convinced they knew more than they were saying. Social media became a battlefield. Reddit threads dissected every interview frame by frame. TikTok creators posted body language breakdowns. Facebook groups with tens of thousands of members debated theories, some grounded in fact, others pure speculation. The line between investigation and harassment blurred, and then the legal troubles began. In October 2021, Don Wells was arrested for driving under the influence, a violation of his parole tied to a previous firearm possession charge. Local news reported the arrest, but authorities made no connection between the DUI and Summer's disappearance. Still, the optics were damning. To the public, it was another red flag, another reason to doubt. Around the same time, the Tennessee Department of Children's Services stepped in. The couple's 3 sons, Summer's younger brothers, were removed from the home. The details of the DCS case remain confidential, sealed by court order, but the removal only deepened suspicions. If the state didn't trust CanDus and Don with their other children, how could the public? By 2025, CanDus and Don told WSMV that their DCS case had been dismissed and their sons returned. But for years they lived under a cloud of judgment, their every move scrutinized, their grief questioned. Here's the thing people forget. Grief doesn't look the same for everyone. Some people cry on camera, others shut down, some lash out, some go numb. There's no right way to lose a child, especially when that loss is public, unresolved and under constant investigation. CanDus and Don were thrust into an impossible position. They had to mourn while defending themselves. They had to cooperate with law enforcement while being treated as suspects. They had to live with the knowledge that millions of strangers were watching, analyzing, accusing. And through it all, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson's words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Everyone involved in this case is a person of interest. We have not ruled anyone out. That statement wasn't just about CanDus and Don. It applied to everyone. Family, friends, neighbors, passers-by. But in the court of public opinion, it landed hardest on the parents. Because when a child vanishes from her own home, the first question people ask isn't, who did this? It's, where were the parents? Fair or not, that's the reality. And for CanDus and Don Wells, it's a reality they've lived with for 4 years. True crime has a dark side, and the Summer Wells case became a perfect storm for it. Within weeks of her disappearance, the internet exploded with theories. Some were grounded in publicly available facts. Others, pure fiction dressed up as investigation. Psychics flooded social media, claiming they'd had visions of Summer's location. She's near water, one said. I see a red barn, claimed another. She's calling out to me, a third insisted. None of it led anywhere, none of it was verified, but it spread like wildfire, racking up thousands of shares, likes, and comments from people desperate for answers. YouTube became a breeding ground for speculation. Channels with massive followings churned out video after video, some thoughtful and well-researched, others sensationalized clickbait. Thumbnails screamed, breaking new evidence in Summer Wells' case. Or did the parents do it? Creators dissected every interview, every photo, every public statement, often drawing conclusions that had no basis in fact. Some even solicited donations for private searches, claiming they'd succeed where law enforcement failed. A few actually showed up in Hawkins County, trampling through the woods with cameras rolling, more interested in content than results. TikTok added fuel to the fire. Short, punchy videos, 30 seconds of speculation set to ominous music, went viral. Hashtags like Churn Summer Wells and Justice for Summer trended, but the line between awareness and exploitation blurred fast. And then there were the tips, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, flooding the TBI tip line, clogging inboxes, overwhelming investigators. The problem? Most weren't based on first-hand knowledge. They were based on rumors, on theories someone read in a Facebook group, on a hunch inspired by a YouTube video. TBI spokesperson Leslie Earhart didn't mince words. Misinformation has had a major impact on the investigation, and not in a good way. Every false lead had to be chased down. Every baseless claim had to be vetted. Resources that could have been spent following credible evidence were instead wasted separating fact from fiction. It wasn't just unhelpful, it was actively harmful. But here's the tension. Community engagement matters. Tips from the public have solved cases. Crowdsourced research has uncovered overlooked details. The problem isn't people caring, it's people confusing speculation with evidence. When you share a theory as fact, when you amplify a rumor without verification, when you prioritize clicks over truth, you're not helping, you're hurting, you're muddying the waters. You're making it harder for investigators to do their jobs. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson put it bluntly on the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. If you find anything, please go directly to the tip line. Don't post it for likes and distraction. But the posts kept coming. The theories kept spreading, and the case, already complicated by terrain, time, and a lack of hard evidence, became even more tangled in a web of online noise. For 4 years, the Summer Wells investigation has been a tug-of-war between hope and chaos, between people who genuinely want to help and those who just want to be part of the story. And then, in late 2024, a new claim surfaced, one that would reignite the entire case, a black tote bag, found in the woods, and according to the internet, it was the key to everything. Late 2024, 4 years after Summer Wells vanished, the case had gone quiet, at least in the mainstream. No major updates, no arrests, no breakthroughs. And then, the internet lit up. YouTube videos started popping up with titles like "We found the tote bag" and "Breaking evidence in Summer Wells case discovered." Thumbnails showed grainy images of a weathered black bag, half buried in leaves, sitting in what looked like Tennessee woods. Reddit threads exploded. Users dissected every frame, every detail. "This is it," one commenter wrote. "This is what CanDus was talking about in her interview." TikTok joined the frenzy. 30-second clips set to dramatic music claimed the bag was the missing piece, the clue everyone overlooked, the key to solving the case. Hashtags trended, shares multiplied, and suddenly the black tote bag became the story. But here's the problem. No one could prove it was real. No mainstream media outlet, not WJHL, not WBIR, not WATI, not the Kingsport Times News, reported on the discovery. No journalist verified the claim. No law enforcement agency issued a statement. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, silent. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, no comment. And most importantly, there's no verified record of Candace Bly ever mentioning a tote bag. Go back and watch the interviews. Read the transcripts. Candace talked about the errands, the swimming hole, planting flowers, washing hands. She described Summer's last moments in detail. But a tote bag, it's not there. So where did this rumor come from? It's hard to pinpoint the exact origin, but it seems to have started in online forums, places where armchair detectives trade theories and comb through every scrap of information. Someone, somewhere, either misremembered a detail, conflated two separate pieces of information, or simply invented it. And once it was out there, it took on a life of its own. YouTubers picked it up, framing it as fact. Candace mentioned a tote bag in her interview, they'd say, without citing a source. Viewers believed it. They shared it. And the rumor became gospel. Then someone claimed they actually found the bag. They posted photos. They described the location, somewhere near the Wells property deep in the woods. They said it matched the description. But whose description? The one that never existed. Still, people wanted to believe, because after 4 years of nothing, even a rumor feels like progress. But let's play this out. Let's say, hypothetically, a black tote bag was found. What would that mean? From an investigative standpoint, it could be huge. Trace evidence is everything in a case like this. A bag left in the woods for 4 years could still hold fibers. Threads from clothing, fabric that could be matched to Summer's last known outfit or to someone else involved. Pollen analysis could pinpoint where the bag had been, narrowing down search grids or confirming timelines. DNA, even degraded DNA, could link the bag to a person, a place, a moment. If the bag was found in an area that hadn't been searched, it could open new grids. It could shift the focus of the investigation. It could answer questions about what happened in those critical minutes after Summer walked downstairs. It could fill timeline gaps. Maybe the bag was used to carry something. Maybe it was discarded in a panic. Maybe it holds the answer to how a 5-year-old girl vanished without a trace. But, and this is a big but, none of that matters without chain of custody. Chain of custody is the documented process that tracks evidence from the moment it's discovered to the moment it's analyzed in a lab. Who found it? When? Where exactly? Was it photographed in place? Was it handled properly? Was it turned over to law enforcement immediately, or did it sit in someone's car for a week while they edited a YouTube video? Without that documentation, the bag is worthless in court. It's contaminated. It's compromised. It's just noise. And that's exactly what Sheriff Ronnie Lawson warned against. If you find anything, he said, go to the tip line. Don't post it for likes. Because the moment you post it online, you've tainted it. You've turned potential evidence into a spectacle. You've prioritized views over justice. And here's the emotional reality. False hope is cruel. For 4 years, Candace and Don Wells have lived in limbo. They don't know if their daughter is alive or dead. They don't know if she wandered off, if she was taken, if something terrible happened in their own home. Every day is a question mark. Every lead that goes nowhere is another wound. So when the internet explodes with claims of a breakthrough, When people say, "We found the tote bag," it's not just noise, it's pain. It's the Wells family getting their hopes up, only to have them crushed again when nothing comes of it. It's the community in Hawkins County, still searching, still hoping, being yanked around by rumors that lead nowhere. It's investigators, already stretched thin, having to waste time chasing down a claim that was never verified in the first place. The desperation for answers is real. The need for closure is real. But the danger of false hope? That's real too. So let me ask you, what's the weather like where you are right now? Sunny? Rainy? Cold? Drop it in the comments. Sometimes we need a moment to breathe in cases like this. Because the truth is, we don't know if the tote bag is real. We don't know if it matters. And until law enforcement confirms it, until the TBI or the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office says, "Yes, we have it and here's what it means," it's just another story within a story. 4 years. That's how long Summer Wells has been missing. 4 years of searching. 4 years of questions. 4 years of a family waiting for answers that haven't come. And yet, the case is far from forgotten. The Amber Alert issued on June 16, 2021 is still active. Summer's face is still out there, circulating, reminding the world that a little girl is missing. The tip line, 1-800-TBI-FIND, is still open, still taking calls, still following every credible lead that comes in. In August 2025, the National Center for Missing Exploited Children released an age progression image. It shows what Summer might look like now, at 9 years old. Her features matured, her hair longer maybe, her eyes still bright, still hopeful. It's a haunting image, a glimpse of a future that may or may not exist. The hope is simple. Someone, somewhere, might recognize her. A teacher, a neighbor, a stranger in a grocery store. Maybe Summer is out there, living under a different name, unaware of the search that's been raging for years. Maybe the age progression image is the key to bringing her home, or maybe it's just another tool in a toolbox that hasn't worked yet. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office have been consistent in their messaging. At every anniversary, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, they've issued statements. The wording is always careful, always measured. This case has not been forgotten, they say. And it never will be. But they offer few details, no updates on suspects, no confirmation of new evidence. Just the same refrain. The investigation is active, and they're asking the public to keep calling if they know anything. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson put it plainly. We're not giving up. We're not walking away. Summer Wells deserves justice, and we're going to keep fighting for her. The ridge above Beach Creek still stands. The woods are still dense, still unforgiving. The property on Ben Hill Road is still there, a silent witness to whatever happened on June 15, 2021. The questions remain. So what do we know? We know Summer was last seen inside her home, heading downstairs to play with her brothers. We know she vanished in a matter of minutes. We know more than 120 agencies searched over 3,000 acres and found nothing. We know there's no evidence of abduction, but nothing has been ruled out. We know the family has been scrutinized, investigated, and judged by millions. We know the case has been plagued by misinformation, false leads, and online chaos, and we know that after 4 years, there are still no answers. But here's what we don't know. We don't know if Summer wandered off and got lost in the woods. We don't know if she was taken by someone she knew or someone she didn't. We don't know if this was an accident, a tragedy, or a crime. We don't know if she's alive or dead. We don't know if the black tote bag is real or just another rumor in a sea of noise. We don't know. And that's the hardest part, not knowing. Living in the space between hope and grief, between possibility and reality. So what can we do? We can keep Summer's name alive. We can share her story, her face, her age progression image. We can call the tip line if we know something, anything that might help. We can resist the urge to spread rumors and instead focus on facts. We can support the investigators who are still working this case, even when it feels like nothing is happening. And we can remember that behind every headline, every theory, every viral post, there's a real little girl. A daughter, a sister, a child who deserves to be found. The balance between hope and evidence is fragile. Hope keeps us searching, evidence brings us answers, and somewhere, in the tension between the two, the truth is waiting. A little girl, a family in turmoil, a community that hasn't stopped searching, and a black tote bag that may or may not exist. That's the Summer Wells case in a nutshell. 4 years of questions, theories, heartbreak and hope. 4 years of a story that refuses to end because it can't, not until Summer is found. But here's what we can't forget. Summer Wells is more than a case. She's more than a headline, a hashtag, or a true crime mystery to dissect over coffee. She's a daughter who should be celebrating her 10th birthday. She's a sister whose brothers are growing up without her. She's a child who loved playing outside, splashing in swimming holes and picking wildflowers in the Tennessee hills. She's a little girl who deserves to be found. And maybe, just maybe, someone watching this video right now holds the key. Maybe you saw something on June 15th, 2021 and didn't think it mattered. Maybe you heard something, noticed something, remembered something that seemed insignificant at the time. Maybe you've been sitting on a piece of information for 4 years, unsure if it's worth reporting. Let me be clear, it's worth reporting. If you know something, anything, call 1-800-TBI-FIND. That's the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation tip line, and it's open 24/7. Don't post it on social media. Don't share it in a Facebook group. Don't make a TikTok about it. Go directly to law enforcement. Let them decide if it's relevant. Let them follow the lead. Let them do their job. Because every credible tip matters. Every piece of verified information brings investigators one step closer to the truth. And the truth is what Summer Wells deserves. This case has been clouded by rumors, speculation, and misinformation for too long. The black tote bag is just the latest example. But we can do better. We can be part of the solution instead of part of the noise. So here's what I'm asking. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share this video. Let's keep Summer's name alive. Let's make sure her face stays in front of people. Let's remind the world that she's still missing, and she's still worth finding. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, because we're not stopping. We're going to keep covering this case, keep pushing for answers, keep demanding justice for Summer Wells. We're not giving up, and neither should you. 4 years is a long time, but it's not too late. Summer Wells, 5 years old, missing since June 15th, 2021, still waiting to come home.